Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Independent Street NOLA Season Ritual, and I want to jump on really quick today. It is the 22nd of July. It is the first day of Leo season. The sun is at 0 degrees. The moon is in Cancer, and so when the moon moves into Leo, we'll have our Leo dark moon. I have already put the video up about that. I suggest or ask that you go watch because this is going to be a big Leo season, and that's why I'm coming on. I usually don't do videos at the start, let alone the very first day. But because the energy is so transformative for the next 4 weeks, I thought I'd better come on and just get everybody used to the fact that this is going on. It is also the Feast of Mary Magdalene today, which I also find very beautiful at the beginning of Leo season for a couple of reasons. One of them being the Strength card. I posted this crazy dramatic cap cut video with Leo season, and then it's like a lot of fire, and then it kind of cuts to the strength card. And this is really important for a Leo season. This season is going to be extremely challenging for us, and I am known to be like an optimistic tarot reader. I love that people say that about me because I really do believe those are the ways that we need to move forward. And I really believe that is the way that um, Spirit wants to deliver these messages because, again, where your mind goes, energy flows, that kind of stuff. So, for me to come on and say that this is challenging is really important. It doesn't mean, and whatever challenging means to you, okay, it could be hard, right? It could be scary, it could be uncomfortable, but it could be the best month of your life, right? Because we are here for the challenge. And I think it's really interesting that the way the astrology has lined up and is bringing in the challenge that is here in well, the end of July into August for Leo season, and it comes in um, when we think of Leo, we think of courage and we think of bravery and we think of strength. And so I want to remind everyone that you are stronger than you know, you have more courage than you know, you have more faith than you know, and this is really going to be a month of accountability. This is really going to be a month to question where are you right now in your life and how do you want to move forward. This is really going to be a month of testing your courage and how that relates in your world and in the world around you. Um, when it comes to fire signs, speaking of fire signs, Ozzy Osbourne passed away and he was a Sagittarius, so there you go. Rest in power, Ozzy. That kind of makes sense on this first day of Leo season. So that feels good. So, in condolences, of course, to all his fans and family. I will say this real fast. I was not obvious. I mean, not obviously, you guys don't know that much, but I mean, I was not, a huge Black Sabbath fan. Obviously, it was always around me, and his music through the years was always around me. And the thing that stuck out most was the idea that he came from this working class town, right? And that's what made that music sound the way it did with Black Sabbath and getting out of that. And we just don't, I just feel like we don't have that much anymore because everything is so dependent on AI and um and things looking slick and even on YouTube, but like people are using so many awful AI images in their, thumbnails for clickbait. It's getting out of control, right? And so we're kind of at this apex. And so we're gonna have to start untying this knot that we're in. Um, Especially when it comes to accountability. And I will say this one last thing because I kind of just went on a tangent about Ozzy Osbourne. He was always, I mean, not that his music was always hitting home runs, but he had a super long career. But he was always true to who he was, right? And that goes back to this idea of authenticity that's going to be held to the fire in Leo season. Where are you now? What's authentic to you now? How are you showing up authentically? the bullshit meter is going to be on 1,000, right? And it's not this idea about being fooled. Okay, it's going back to what we know is real, what we know we can trust, what we feel good about, right? How does this resonate in our bodies? Leo is fixed fire. Leo is the inspiration. Leo represents the ego. It represents the self, right? Aries, the first sign, fire, the self. Sagittarius, the adventurer, mutable fire, like I said, likes the adventure. And then we have and here we have Leo, that fixed fire, right? That fixed flame. You can think of Vesta when we think of the fixed flame. But it is that inspiration. It is the flame that doesn't go out. And we've got to really, we're going to be challenged this Leo season to see what it is that lights us up, right? That what is it that inspires us to move forward? Um, is it real? Is it honest? Does it resonate anymore? Um, do we only move when we get angry, or do we move when we get inspired? What causes that inspiration? Um, Going back to the strength card, and then I'll pull a couple cards, that fantastical video that I posted. It's a lion and it's got lightning and fire and he's wearing a big crown. And I wanted to juxtapose it against the strength card because she comes in and the strength is in having compassion, right? The strength is in the soothing. The strength isn't meeting the challenge head on in a fisticuffs, right? It is she knows who she is. She knows the self, right? She knows she's exactly where she's supposed to be in her lifetime. And she's meeting the challenge head on, and she knows that she can soothe this lion and get things done. That is having strength. That is having courage, the courage to meet the lion. And having courage is also showing up with who you are and who you want to be, right? Not who other people say you should be, not who others always said what you were good at, um, not the opinion of others, to have courage to show up in your fire, right? In your flame, in your authenticity. You've got to have strength to do that. And that is what this entire Leo season is going to be about. So it's going to be a challenge for us. In a good way, right? And I feel like that, the people that watch my videos or, hang out or whatever, um, you're ready for the challenge. Some of you are already in challenges and meeting them 100%. Queen of Pentacles. She keeps coming out a lot for me lately, even in readings, that Queen of Pentacles, which is, that Venus energy, it's that Taurus energy, Earth energy. The devil, I was wondering if he was going to come out. And he did. He was looking at me earlier. Okay, let's get one more. The devil card too can go with the idea of these retrogrades as well. Wow, Queen of Cups. And then Three of Wands. Here we go, everyone. It's go time. We're not going back. I can tell you that. We're definitely moving forward. So thank you for that Three of Wands. That's really beautiful. All right. Queen of Pentacles, the Devil, and the Queen of Cups. This is a really good message here. And I love that the devil is in the middle. So we have the Queen of Pentacles, and this is about receiving. All queen energy is about receiving. That's that feminine side of us and our masculine and feminine within. I believe all queens are divine. So the Queen of Pentacles, she's stable, she's grounded, she's abundant. She knows how to run things, households, businesses. And she keeps in the spirit of earth signs, which is keeping things practical, and keeping things simple. So the Queen of Cups, this is how we're going to do that. The Queen of Cups, she trusts her emotions, right? That's the way she runs her kingdom. She trusts her emotions, she trusts her feelings. That's why she sits on her large throne, right? Everyone's got good thrones. I was trying to see if I could find Hathor in her throne. Looks like a more of a dragon, but and then this one's got cherubs on it. She's got cherubs. So you have both these queens, right? And in their highest sense, trusts her feelings, understands things have to flow, um, can let go of things, and new things happen. This queen, when she's there, she knows she gets things done just by being grounded, keeping things simple, very abundant. Okay. Also very abundant. All queens are abundant, but really understands um, the complexities of flow. And this queen understands the complexities of the earth cycles. So they really do work together. And on the axes, um, earth and water are always opposite of each other, which is great. So then we have the devil. And the devil is two things, three things, four things, five things, but we're going to make him two things in this reading. The devil to me is always the illusion. Um, the idea that making something bigger than what it is, right? Or they always say the devil's in the details, right? Because like maybe you don't want to pay attention, right? You're like, oh, it'll work itself out, right? But even with those things, like even with those two ways of explaining the devil card, right? The idea about the devil's in the details and the devil's like also represents the illusion. Um, it's about not paying attention, right? It's about not putting your focus on the right things, right? So the idea of the illusion, and I'm going to keep this part simple. It's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't learn to play the piano because I'm 47, right? And I was always told I had no piano playing skills or something like that. So that's all you think about. When the reality of it is anyone can play the piano, okay? You can learn to play the piano, right? But the illusion is like, no, I can't do it, okay? So there's that part of the devil card, okay? And then the other part is about not paying attention for this reading, like not noticing the details, right? Just reading the fine print, asking those questions, okay? And if you're not going to ask those questions, if you're not going to read the fine print, that can keep you chained, right? Keep you in those old codependent stories, keep you in codependent relationships, keep you and codependency on that. This is just how the way the world is, right? And we are in a huge shift energetically. And I know we've been saying that for years, but this is really the time the rubber meets the road. There's going to be definite lines drawn in the sand this Leo season, and we've got to decide where we stand. And this isn't like it's not the idea that one way is right and one way is wrong. It's just that you've got to decide what it is that you stand for and what speaks to you more. Because life's full of gray areas in a lot of things. But there's just some things like there's just some things I'm not going to compromise on. Like people's rights, I'm not going to compromise that. Like everyone should have equal rights, right? And then within that construct, it has different scenarios, okay? But the idea is everyone has to have equal rights, okay? And then work that out. There's no way around that, okay? Um, and so we are going to be tasked, we are going to be challenged with the illusion, okay? We're going to be challenged with the idea of um, what it is that we're receiving, okay? Because the illusion would tell you that the feminine energy isn't solid. They're too emotional, right? Lower feminine vibes would be this queen always puts other people in front of herself instead of taking care of herself first. And then lower vibes for this queen would be being irrational, right? Not taking that beat to listen to what her emotions are telling her or to stuff her emotions further and further down so that she doesn't have any. Okay. The illusion, right, is going to tell you maybe that's how you're supposed to be. It's not real, right? The devil doesn't have to be in the details if you're listening to your emotions, if you're keeping things simple and you're staying grounded, okay? Everything is retrograde right now, right? Leo, Mercury just went retrograde. Um, Saturn, Neptune, and Aries is retrograde, Pluto is retrograde. So, I mean, not everything, but the heavy hitters here are retrograde. So, this is going to challenge us. This is going to challenge us, right? Are we going to be able to stay grounded? Are we going to be able to trust our emotions no matter what is popping up, right? We have to start deciding, do I believe in that still? Or is it an illusion, right? Neptune retrograde usually shines the light on the illusions. Um, Neptune being in Aries, it's up to us to start seeing where that illusion is. It's up to us to decide if we're going to stop believing in that illusion, right? Accountability, we can't get rid of accountability. Saturn retrograde in Aries, accountability. That Mercury retrograde in Leo, we're going to see where people are speaking from the lower ego. We're going to see where people are speaking from not a heart place center. Leo rules the heart. So, and it's not to say that just because it's retrograde, we're going to be digging up a bunch of old, not old, but lower vibes from Leo, but it could be, it very well could be. So, we're going to see, but we're also going to see the opposite of that. We're going to see where people are coming from their heart space. We're going to start seeing where people really are being authentic. We're in this huge shift, right? And it is really, I think, to me, quite beautiful that it does come in on Leo because Leo, when we talk about Leos, lovable Leos, and they're in that higher octave, they are the inspiration and they do believe, right? They will hold that fire for you. They will warm your heart, and Leos are so special because they really are so innocent, and when they say, well, I did it, you can too, you can do it, I did it, it just comes from such a pure place of excitement and love and inspiration, and that's what we've got to get back to, right? That's what we got to back to. So we really do have to receive, we really do have to listen to our feelings and just being practical. And I can tell you right now, like I said, going back, the shit that is coming out like on YouTube and the thumbnails, it's just too much, right? Which would be also kind of lower Leo, if you will. I mean, it doesn't have to be lower, but like Leos can be super dramatic, right? The theater, that kind of stuff, right? So it's not that surprising all these dumb thumbnails are coming out at this time. But we will say this too, right? The Three of Wands, it is movement. We are moving. That's even though things are retrograde, they're here to tell us how to move forward, which is kind of funny, but kind of how it works sometimes. So understand, we're looking at a new horizon. This isn't the old horizon, okay? We're ready to move forward. We're ready to get our queens. We're ready to move out of this, right? We're ready to move more into the feelings, right? Move into the heart space. Um, and I will say this too. If we were to put this like, past, present, future, in the past being the Queen of Pentacles, right? But it could be moving out of the idea, and this would be like lower pentacle that you have to work all the time. The hustle, the grind. Make sure you are taking care of everybody else but yourself. That's what makes a good woman. And so moving out of that and understanding, you know, um, because the patriarchy has taught women the only way that they are worth anything is if they are working or proving what they're worth or showing you what they're worth. And we're moving out of that. That's the illusion. It's not true. And if we're moving more towards the Queen of Cups, right? And I would just say like nurturing. compassion. And let me just real fast on compassion. I watched some clips, not the whole thing, because I understand my gaslighting meter is only so much. Mehdi Hassine did I don't know, not an interview, but basically they had all these uh, children with these people in there and they were debating him, right? And this guy is a world-class debater. Um, and I was like, and he basically kind of kept the same tone and um didn't really get elevated. And these people were spewing crazy stuff, right? And me and this other woman, or I don't know if it was a woman, but me and this other person were commenting because I'm at that age now, right? Make a comment. Thank you. In the comments, and she said, God, he did such a good job keeping us cool with these people. And I said, I know he really showed them a lot of compassion. And this other guy came on and said, he didn't coddle them. He blah, 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 blah. And it was to me because he added me. And I said, I didn't use the word coddle because I didn't. I said he used compassion. And I think, this is just me personally, I think holding the line of what you believe, and it could be by not raising your voice, it could be, soothing that lion, but knowing who you are and standing in that truth of you, especially if it's coming from a heart space and other people might be crashing out around you. I think that you holding that space, holding that line is showing compassion to the other person. That's one way that I read compassion. So it doesn't necessarily, so to me, compassion isn't necessarily like not feeling sorry for the other, but knowing who you are and kind of being that beacon, right? Is showing them compassion because it it just says who you are with your ethics and your morals. Anyway, to me, that's another way of showing compassion. So when that woman is petting the lion and showing it compassion because she knows who she is. And if the lion came at her, she was able to say, shh, 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 shh. Okay, this is it. This is who I am. I'm going to give you some pets. Okay, stay or leave, right? Hold that line, especially my empaths, my light workers. You guys hold that line because you're more than likely going to be tested and challenged because it is this idea of who you are authentically. And I can't remember where I said this. I might have said it on my last video. I can't remember. Time's spinning so fast. Um, if people are challenging you and it does hurt your feelings or something, it's okay. Let it hurt your feelings, but also see how quickly you move out of that. Okay. Because again, it's not about you, it's about them. They don't want to hold accountability. They're looking at someone to scapegoat. They're looking for someone to blame, right? They're looking to keep you in a codependent relationship. But you know who you are. Let it go, let it flow. Keep things simple, keep things abundant. We're in a new season, Leo season. So I hope this helps you guys because this is going to be a challenging Leo season. It again, it's going to be, I think, one, two of like invigorating, right? Because we get to say who we are. And if you guys need help, if you're overwhelmed, if you're feeling depressed, ask for help. It's a great time to talk. Mercury's retrograde, right? And if these things come up, it's a good time. Like if things came up and you were like, ah, that really, maybe someone set the tone a long time ago. And so you never explored other things because, they said something about you that bruised your ego, right? And like your good ego, not your lower ego. Um, this is a good time to talk about it because what's staring at me is the lovers, which is the opposite of the devil. So to get there, we got to go through this Five of Pentacles, right? And I could even say this would be Neptune retrograde as well, right? Because Neptune is the idea of spirituality, not necessarily religion or organized religion, but just spirituality. And the Five of Pentacles speaks of change, and it talks about going to the resources that are available. But you kind of got to eat crow or swallow your pride sometimes and ask for help. It's okay, right? It's okay. But that's going to get us to this point, which is the opposite of this point. It gets us to the lovers, which is the authentic self, the masculine and feminine working together. It's on the move. It's on the move. So we'll get there, right? We got to get there. We're going to answer the call of this challenge. First day, right? I don't even know if the sun's at 1 degrees yet. It still might be just at 0 degrees. I'm not sure. But with this first day, with the moon in Cancer, Jupiter's in Cancer, Jupiter's exalted in Cancer, the moon's at home in Cancer. Take this day and tomorrow because the 24th is the dark moon and it's really early in Leo, right? It's 2 degrees. So, and it's opposite that Pluto. So use this time right now, maybe just to take stock on all the things that you're grateful for, the things that you did initiate or that you do want to initiate around the home, yourself as home. Um, and then get ready for the challenge that is going to be this Leo season. Okay, friends, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday. If you did anything for the Feast of Mary Magdalene, wonderful. Even if you're like, I did put something on my other video, the Dark Moon video of on Esoterica. He has a beautiful um, just st facts about Mary Magdalene and how special she was and still is. Um, and the idea, I would just say this of Sub Rosa. I don't know why I put that. Um, this has roses in it. I put the strength card back in. I'm not going to go through, but I feel like the woman petting the lion, she has roses on her. Um, but also the idea of Sub Rosa is Mary Magdalene is associated with the roses. All the Marys, I think, are associated with the roses, and the idea of alchemy and sub rosa. So that's I would also put that in there too. Okay, friends, I'm gonna leave it there. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. If you have to take a break from social media, because it's getting too wild, I totally get it. So look out for yourselves, look out for your hearts, and I'll check back in soon.